Hello and welcome back to the Vortex Experience. I'm your host, Claudia Compton. I cannot wait for today's episode. I literally was walking on the beach this morning and I was walking to the beach, not on the beach, and I got this download come through and it was like, this is what you're going to talk about in the podcast. And I'm like, the time has come, baby. The time has come. But before we get in, we're going to do a little channeled moment. And just quickly, what I'm seeing is the steps, and it's so fucking fitting to what this episode is about. The steps to your heart is the path that you desire. So remembering that you are always following your heart's desires will lead you to the path of which you want to live. And I'm seeing this episode really being the catalyst for a lot of people to open up their heart, since it is around the things of the heart nature, and it is going to really allow you to expand. So what I'm seeing specifically is you sitting in bed tonight and allowing yourself to go into your heart, and imagine you can walk up a stairway into where your heart is living. I want you to notice how it feels, what desires live there, what life you desire to experience, the partner, the fun, the business, the experiences, the travel, the circumstance, like whatever it is, allow yourself to really channel into your heart space, walking into your heart, and allow yourself just to really chill inside your heart and allow that to activate what pathway is going to feel best for your desires. So before we get in, I am very, 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 very excited for this podcast. I feel very integrated. I feel very ready to share what's been going on, and I feel very grateful, if I'm going to be honest, because at the beginning of this year there was stuff that hit the fan that I really didn't know how to navigate, whether I was ever going to talk about this circumstance or this situation, and it's ready now. I literally feel so ready for it. So, babe, you're going through a breakup. Now what? That was the quote, that was the headline, that was the title of this next 3-part series. There is 3 parts into this series. The reason why is because there's a lot of parts to breakups. Release, rebuild, and re-experience. Today we're going to be talking about the release. I have my laptop in front of me, so I make sure that I am not losing my wording, losing my footing. And today is going to be all around releasing, okay? I'm going to share a little bit about my story just so then you guys have a bit more of an insight of what actually has happened. I'm not going to share any dirty laundry. I love my former partner so much. He's incredible, and this is not a rag or drag episode. It is just purely from my personal experience, what I felt for me, not from the relationship. Okay, so for those that don't know, I was dating my former partner for 4.5 years on and off. Okay, we got back 3 times. Okay. And that's something that I also want to preface as well. Just because I got back with my partner doesn't mean that you have to or you shouldn't. I had a lot of people in my DMs when one of my TikToks blew up about a year ago and was like, oh, should I get back with my ex? Should I not? Should I? Yes, should I not? The reason why I'm prefacing this is because I knew I wasn't complete. And I don't know about you, but I am not going through life allowing stones to be unturned. I'm going to turn every mother freaking stone this life. And what felt true and active for me in that moment and throughout those 4.5 years was to turn those stones, was to forgive, was to initiate, was to surrender, was to trust, to try again and refine and take accountability, take responsibility, realize that it's not something that I actually desire anymore. Okay? It was a mutual agreement. Okay? We both just realized, okay, cool. Like, what are our desires? What are our values? What do we see for our lives? Not our lives together, but our individual life. Okay. So it was a very mature, grounded, logical answer, even though it didn't feel inviting. It felt very like, obviously, a massive loss because he was my best friend for so long. And yeah, it was really, really rough at the beginning of the year. I'm going to be completely transparent. And I'm happy to talk more about my experience with the breakup. This episode's not going to specifically be about that. There are going to be some things that I'm going to share that I've learned, but I'm not going to tell you the entire story or what specifically healed me in that. I just want to share with you how you can implement from what I've learned through this, but I'm not going to give you specifics. Okay. And depending on if you message me on Instagram and I feel like it could be a great episode, I could potentially make an episode on the specifics of as long as it feels integral for me, okay? Because I know what you put out on the internet can just be out there and it's forever said. And I want to make sure that what I'm going to be saying on this episode is like intentional, integrous, and truth for me, and is going to give you value, okay? So a little bit backstory. My former partner and I, we were a little bit rocky for about 6 months. We moved house, and we thought, fresh house, it's going to be great vibes, etc., etc. And things just weren't evolving on either end. There was evolvement, but I guess I have a specific vision for my life, and things weren't evolving in that way to what I desired. And same with my former partner, right? So it was a very interesting thing to navigate, with us obviously living together, and then us also, sharing a car and like being together for 4.5 years on and off, and like we were each other's best friends. So I remember driving back home one day and I remember thinking, it's okay, just stay like this for the rest of your life. It could get better, okay? It could get better, and it might, but you just have to stay. And then I realized, like, in that moment, I now know how people stay in unhealthy, unhappy, unfulfilled marriages or partnerships or, I don't know, workplaces. That was like a real big, holy shit, I need to bring this to my former partner's attention, that I'm feeling this. And I realized that, oh my God, now I know, not from personal experience, obviously I'm not married, but now I can see how quote unquote easy and comfortable it would be to actually stay in a circumstance and a situation and relationship, regardless of just dating or you have kids, marriage. Like, it was a full, oh, maybe I could just stay here. And in that moment, I was like, whoa, what the fuck, Claudia? Like, that is not it, okay? And I remember bringing this up to my former partner, and we had a conversation, and then it started to develop, and we finally had that conversation, and we're like, okay, cool. Like, this is a decision that we're both making, and this is kind of the plan, okay? It did take him a little bit of time to find a house to move out. So that is a whole nother story, and I don't feel like I want to speak into that at all, because it is my personal experience, and it's also, I want to also protect my former partner's privacy. But it was a beautiful ending, but it was a really sad grief time for myself, grieving the life that I had, grieving the experiences that I would have on a regular basis, grieving the thoughts and the perception and the vision that I had for our life as a couple together. It was a really, really sad period, because we slowly realized that we weren't dating each other. So then the dynamic shifted, and it was a really interesting time. And all I remember thinking is like, holy shit, when is this going to get better? Like, I remember just feeling like it was sand through my fingers falling through. And this is something that I've never experienced. The reason, that's why I want to speak about it, because I've never experienced living with a partner or living with a former partner and waiting for them to leave the house. And I grappled with, do I leave? Should I go? And I'm like, no. Like, I know I'm meant to stay in this house. Like, I know I'm meant to be here. It feels like my house. I'm the one that found the house. I'm the one that, instigated moving here. Like, I knew it was a me thing. I knew it was a me thing, that to stay here. And I was like, okay, great. Like, what is this going to do? Even to the thoughts of like, fuck, how am I going to like do all these little things that I was really dependent on my partner with, like cooking food. Like, I don't like cooking food. I had to relearn all this stuff, as well as go through a breakup at the same time, as well as living with the former partner and then supporting him to move out, and then also the no contact period. And then, it was a whole thing. But the thing that I really want to speak about is grief, girl, grief. Release, okay? I really realized how grief is such an interesting emotion, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about it, especially in the breakup realm. Like, when a passed over loved one is passed over, that's grief. And maybe you do know the extent of grief that you experience with a passed over loved one, or maybe you don't. But if you've been through a relationship breakup, it is like the most interesting grief to ever experience, because that person is still here. you know that person, you can technically still contact them. So it's like you actually get to go through the grief portal, the grief cycle of like the 5 stages of grief. Like we've got denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And, you know, we're coming to the middle of June now, and this happened at the end of January, and he left at the end of February. Like I'm only just getting to acceptance now, like full acceptance. And I don't want to say that to be like, fuck, you've got a few weeks ahead or a few months ahead, but potentially you do, depending on where you are in your cycle with the grief. And the thing with grief is it's never just a one-stop shop. It's, you can feel all the bliss and happiness, and then you can drop into a pit of despair and anger and denial, like why this happened, why can't it work out? I was dissociated for the first, I think, month at least, and going through a breakup whilst running a business was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Like, yeah, it was a real big experience. And I just want you to know that if you're currently going through a breakup, don't worry. I've been there and I'm here to support you. This is why I'm making this episode, because I know I've gone through so many breakups. Like I also realized that I spent majority of my 20s in a relationship. And this is what we're going to talk about in the re-experience part 3, because it is so important to pick your partner with intention. Like, I'm just going to write this down because I want to make sure I hit this on the nail on the head in part 3. Picking your partner with intentionality. Like when my former partner and I got together, like we were, you know, on substances and drinking and like doing all that stuff. I said to my former partner, I was like, you know what? You didn't sign up for business, Claudia. And I really know that was a contributing factor to our relationship, because I am so driven, ambitious, and see all these things in my life. He didn't sign up for that. And it's like we were growing together, yet instantaneously growing apart, because we have different visions for our own life. And we had to have a grounded, open, communicative, loving conversation for one another, because if I was to stay in that dynamic, I'm blocking his best love. And if he was to stay in that dynamic too, he's blocking my best love. And it really comes down to the whole, I love him too much to not let him experience that love. And I love myself to know deep down, even though it stings like a ouch, right? It stings like a piece, like salt in the wound. I knew that there was more out there without actually having evidence of it being out there, because it was the best relationship I've ever had. Okay. So I had to get to this point of like, no, like this can't be the end. Like I've gone back 3 times. Like, why is this not working? And then I felt like all this shame and fear of like, am I ever going to find this person? And the thing that I want you to know is like, allow those stories to run. Please stop trying to overcome these stories overnight. Like, it is a part of the process. It's a part of the grieving. So the more that you repress the whole, oh my God, like, you know, but I don't know if this is going to work. It's like, just allow it to come up. Allow your unconscious mind to have a fucking wig out for a minute, because it is the most important thing to actually allow those emotions to shift, because it's just energy, emotion. The more that you stuff them down or pop them into the side or pop it in the garage and never open that box again, the more it is going to stunt your growth long term. And I know it's so scary to go through grief. Trust me, I've been there with multiple people and with this beautiful person multiple times. I get it. It's deep and it can feel dark and scary. But the main thing that I want you to really know is that all it is just breaking habits. You're breaking habits of what you created with this person. You're breaking the tiny micro things. I remember I one day had the biggest mental break. Like I had it fucking crying for hours. I pulled open my bathroom drawer and his stuff wasn't there. Boom, tears. And I can still go back to that time and being like, oh my God, she's feeling so much. Like, oh, that was like a big thing for me, right? And all it is just tiny little habits, not seeing their towel on the coat hanger, like tiny little things that you get to readjust to, okay? You get to readjust to these things. The thing I would say, if you are in the denial or anger stage, let yourself be in the denial stage. Like, honestly, you have to let yourself be in each stages, because it will get to acceptance. And one day you'll feel like you're fully accepting it, like a bad biddy on the main stage, living your best cycle life. And then 20 minutes later, you could be back in denial. Allow those cycles to play, because the thing that I know for sure is that the more that I resisted those cycles to play out, the more that the cycles would play out. It's like I had to literally let my inner my inner person have like a tantrum and be a hot mess. Like I spoke to a woman on the weekend, she's going through a breakup. She came to my psychic event and I said to her, just let yourself be a hot mess. Let yourself be a hot mess. I did not let myself be a massively hot mess this round of breakup. The last two, I definitely was a hot mess. This round, I felt like I wasn't that much of a hot mess because I felt like the acceptance for it quicker than I would have usually. It doesn't mean that I was fully quote unquote over it. I feel like I'm still not completely over it. I'm definitely able to talk about it now, which is why I'm bringing you this episode, because I know for sure that allowing yourself to move through these emotions. So whenever I did feel the anger, I felt the anger. Whenever I felt that bargaining, I had systems in place. And that is something that I learned from past experiences of not having systems in place, okay? But let's get back to the denial. For me, I was super dissociated. I was so dissociated. I was like not wanting to leave the house, all these different things. So I had to create a system to get myself out of bed. I had to find different things that were going to allow myself to make those changes. For example, I became the observer. And I put a timer on my phone every hour through this period for the first like month and a half, 2 months. I made an effort to ensure that I was actually consciously taking myself out of the perspective, because I knew that I could get into a deep rut. With the grief, it can be feeling so dense. She'd be feeling dense, babes. And it's something that I can't fully give you the solution to, but I can help you go through with what I've worked out from my grief experience. Everyone's grief is going to be different. You know, some people have grieved their breakup before they even, you know, leave the relationship. Some people don't even care. Some people haven't even started the grief process. So depending on where you are individually at, I don't have a specific answer for you. Only you know that yourself. But all these tools and resources will help you get through the release stage, okay? So what we want to do is we want to put a timer on once every hour or 2 hours, and it's like, where's my perspective? Okay, because you can be going, girl, I took fucking a one-way ticket to La La Land of constantly bargaining and like, but what if we get back here? And what if this, it would take me back to coming into my body, because again, I was super dissociated. I was so out of my body, and I was just like doing my own thing because I wanted to get through this. I actually created an event and I put all my energy and time into that because that was my lighthouse. I needed a freaking lighthouse. I needed something that was going to help me so much to get through this breakup. So then I'm able to shift whatever was happening for me. So I would really say pour into and this is a part of the rebuild stage. We're not going to go into this today. It's going to be a different episode, but just for the first stage, you need to allow yourself to actually release it. Release everything. It's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be cute, but it is giving for the plot, you know? That's what we want. We want to make sure that you are really going through this stage and just allowing yourself to be the observer. Where is your perspective? Allow yourself to come back in your body. So breath work, meditation, ice bath, saunas. Do the basics, the basics. Don't be trying to fucking rebuild your life overnight, okay? You can if you want. I've done that and it's worked to an extent. But then what I've noticed is the grief does take a little bit longer to shift out because it wasn't being present. Even if you give yourself a week or two just to be a fucking hot mess, like 5 days, don't leave your house. Like go for a mental health walk, make sure you're drinking water, getting your sunlight. But if you're going to do something and you're going to do it well, make sure you're not on your phone. I took 4 days off as soon as my former partner left. And to be honest, to be completely transparent, I had a great 4 days off. I took the whole first day off pretty much. Off my phone, no music, no talking. I fasted for 2 of the days, so I didn't eat. I only had water and juice. And I pretty much just stuck in nature and I read my book, which was a really great book. Oh my God, I almost read this book in one day, I swear. It's called Everything I Know About Love. Wow. It was such a great book. So if you want to read that book, I literally read like 150 pages in one day. No shit. It was incredible. So I would really recommend you reading that book. It was amazing. And I remember just reading it in bed and also just in my bath. Literally, I stayed in the bath. My hands were fucking pruny for like 2 hours. It was the best bath I've ever had. I was hooked into that. And it allowed me to really shift. Something that I also recommend, and I have done it multiple times, is watch Eat, Pray, Love. Iconic. And it is such like a beautiful movie and allows me to shift through any emotion. So just remember to shift your perspective, allow yourself to go through those stages. In the bargaining stage, all right, I'm going to go through this. There's 5 stages. We've got denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Denial, I feel like I've already given you guys some tools that I've used that has helped me. The anger stage, let's just be real. There's a lot of anger. So if you want to move your body, move your body. Like that's what's helped me. I went on a shit ton of runs. I went for a lot of walks. I did a few anger releases. But to be honest, I was more of the depression than the anger because I had a lot of anger from the past that I've already worked through within that specific relationship. So I feel like the anger I didn't completely skip it, but I did overcome that pretty quickly because I'm a naturally more angry person. Like that's just my kind of go-to. Underneath the anger for me, at least, is the sadness that I was being rinsed by this fucking breakup. Wow. So the bargaining stage. So what I did, I was a savage, okay? I was an absolute savage. I got my phone, I dropped him to his new house, and I literally, no word of a lie, I deleted all photos, everything. Photos, contacts, we blocked each other, nothing, nada, minus, okay? All right? Now, I am that person that will delete photos. I am. Okay? It doesn't mean I'm never going to forget the memories, okay? I will remember those memories. I'll remember those feelings. I'll remember it. But I do not see the point in having photos to randomly come up on my phone when I could be having a baddie day, right? A bad girl day, like amazing day. And then boom, see that picture, drop me straight into it. So that is how it's a protective mechanism. Absolutely. That's how I protected myself from setting myself up with a system that is going to help me. I deleted his number. I deleted family. I did everything. I had to because I went back, guys, 3 times. Okay? What I did last 2 times is not going to help me this time. It's a different texture. I was so ready to just be like, I'm done. I love this man. He's an incredible person. He was an amazing partner. He's not my partner. There's no point living in the past and keeping photos on my phone. And that's just a savage, straight up truth. I was not playing around. I was not playing around this time because I'm like, Claudia, 3 times, girl, like you can keep on moving. All right. Time to move on up. Moving on up, moving on out. Right. So that is what I wanted to really briefly say is like, you need to create a system where it cannot fail you. Whether that be deleting the number, blocking. I said to my former partner, I said, hey, do you want to block me or do you want me to block you? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'll block you. I was like, great, cool. So he did that. Okay. So that was that done. Breakups are different. Okay. I've had experiences where that's never happened before and then we've gone back and forth, right? But with this example, that's what happened. Okay. Because it was a mutually agreed departure of relationship. Okay. But you need a system. You need something that can hold you while you're in the pits, girl. Okay. So my holding was all photos are deleted. All things are chucked out. My whole room is reorganized. I bought myself linen. I bought my own stuff for my room. I did all my stuff in my bathroom, completely done. I rearranged my pantry. It was like I created a new house for myself to live in because there was so many memories stored in this entire house and also, my car and also along the Gold Coast, right? Wherever you're living, you probably have memories with that person. So what we can do is we need to create a system that can support you. I knew changing my environment was the fastest thing that was going to do that. I knew deleting his number, fastest thing. So whenever I have a moment of weakness, I can't contact him. I don't have his number, right? I have friends who have his number, so I could get his number, but I was not going to go full crazy. I've already been there, okay? I've already done that. And obviously blocking on social media. So what I did was I knew that if at any moment I wanted to talk about him, I would either voice message myself and delete it, I would write that out, or I would call a friend. If I voice messaged it and wrote it out and I still felt like things weren't moving for me, I would then call a friend. I had a system for myself so that I was able to hold myself at it. I created a new morning routine that was different. I did meditation, breath work, gratitudes, and I went for a walk or some kind of movement. I threw myself into movement because I loved the endorphins and the dopamine and all the things. So if you aren't moving your body going through this breakup, like please do it. Focus on a challenge. What I also did was I didn't eat any processed food, caffeine, milk, like anything, like any processed stuff, and I didn't drink alcohol for 30 days. I needed to throw myself into a challenge because it gives me something to look forward to. It gives me something to hold myself at. It really supported me to hold myself through this experience. So then if I was to have a moment of bargaining and weakness, I was able to fully identify, hang on, is this actually aligned with my goals? So, for example, the reason why I did the no caffeine or the no drinking alcohol is because those were coping mechanisms in the past, okay? They were things that I had a vice on, right? I used to drink every day. So I knew that if I held myself to this standard, I was then able to really compound my growth, my evolution, be in alignment with my goals, and make myself proud. Because that is one thing that I want you to know through this breakup is you are going to make yourself so fucking proud. It's okay if not every day you make yourself proud, but I want you to say 9 times out of 10, you're making yourself so freaking proud. And that is what I want this 3-part series to be about. You are going to look back on this time and say, thank fuck it happened. The reason why is because you are going to make yourself so proud, because the reason why I've created this is because I've made myself so proud through this experience. Yeah, I've had times where I've fallen off the bandwagon and maybe I could have done better, right? And guess what? We are human at the end of the day, guys. The thing that we're going to do is we're going to build new habits. We need to build something. So whether it be a 7-day push-up challenge, like I've just recently completed a 14-day run where I did 5Ks every day for 14 days. I originally started with 7 days, and then I went to 14 days because it wasn't hard enough. I pushed myself because I am now finding evidence where I can hold myself at these standards that I desire one day a partner to do that for me. Okay, whenever that comes around. But I really want you to become the observer in this breakup. Allow yourself to be messy. Allow yourself to be just tell your friends and family what's actually going on. Have a beautiful, tight-knit, supportive community. If you don't have that, message me on Instagram. I have a beautiful community that I'd love to introduce you with. There's so many cool things on Instagram, TikTok, where you can start to educate yourself. But please, my gosh, please stop obsessing over the lack and the missing of the person. Allow yourself to miss the person. Allow yourself to grieve. Allow yourself to be sad and to wish that you had everything. And the best thing that you can do is feel everything that comes through. I went on a call with a mentor and he said, you need to feel every single strand of missing this person. So for example, my former partner and I were thinking about going to Europe this year. I got to sit down, meditate, and feel the grief and feel the loss of that perceived reality. That experience that I desired to have with my former partner is now gone. It's closed. And what that did, it allowed me to have so much more capacity to then hold myself at a higher standard. So then I could show up for myself. So then I could, be conscious rather than creating unconsciously from feeling so fricked all the time, right? I was able to build healthy habits like going to the gym, like eating well, like holding myself to these commitments, like investing into my business, I cannot express to you how important it is to look at this time as a breaking habit system, a breaking habit time of your life, okay? And then we go into the depression. Now, with the bargaining and the depression, for me, they really coexisted at the same time. I knew when I went into the depression, I allowed myself to have a moment, but I had a system that would help me get out of the depression eventually. With saying this, allow yourself to just go through the emotion. I remember seeing a quote, there's no way out but through. And that is literally the quote of this friggin' the quote of this podcast is, there's no way out but through. And, when people say time heal all, honestly, suck my fill in the blank. And it's true. Unfortunately, that is one of the answers. It's not the only answer. I'm not saying distract yourself, but I am saying having something that you look forward to waking up, whether it be going for a run, talking with a friend, finding your new love for sunrises, painting, journaling, learning how to do tarot card readings, learning a high income skill, starting the podcast, doing the business, going out and meeting new people, doing a challenge, whatever it may be. What have you been meaning to do that you haven't done now that you have so much space? This is something no one speaks about as well. If you live with a partner, oh my God, you have another world, another day on your day. I had 3 days on my day. I'm like, how the fuck do I have so much time? How do I have so much time? This is crazy. It was wild to me. I had so much time. So I was like, what am I going to do to fill this time? And that is where we get to explore. That is where we get to break the habits of, okay, cool, who do I actually get to be? Which will make sense when we go into the rebuild stage. That's coming out next week. Okay, so become the observer of this time in your life. Know that this is coming to you for a reason. Allow yourself to move through the emotions. Allow yourself to be a hot mess. Allow yourself to create a system and to really look forward to what's coming post this. But allow yourself to go through it and enjoy it. You might say, Claudia, you're crazy to enjoy a breakup, but guess what? Every breakup I've gone through, it's made me a better me. And I'm so grateful for that. So I knew, even when I was at the pits of hell, crying in my bedroom and fucking sitting on the shower, crying my eyes out, right? Going out into nature and having sunnies on because I was just being a hot mess. I was crying all the time, okay? Allow yourself to cry, babe. Cry. Allow yourself to grieve. And then when you allow yourself to go through those emotions with that system, with that openness, with that compassion, with that empathy for self and gratitude that you got to experience so much love, right? That's all it is for me. I was holding myself in the depths of sadness and I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful because I must have loved this person so much. I knew I love that person so much, but to feel the absence and to feel the sadness that I felt, I was like, wow, I am a fucking great lover and I'm so grateful and I cannot wait for the next partner to come through. My husband, whenever he comes through, whenever it's meant to be, will be. And I'm so grateful that now I get to pour all that energy into myself. Babe, this could be the last time you could ever be single. Why are you wishing it away? This could be the last time you could ever just pack up and go to the opposite side of the world because you can. This is the last time. You may have the last time before you have kids, before you buy a house and do the white picket fence, whatever it may be, right? This could be the last time. Why are you wishing it away? It's okay if you wish it away for the moment, but once you go through this and once you go to the rebuild stage after the release phase, you will start to see the gift in what God, universe, spirit is giving you. It is a gift to go through a breakup. It is an honor to love someone to the depth that you've loved someone. And when you really get that in your body, when you really get it, you'll then be able to circuit break that thought pattern, give it to yourself. All we get to do is break those old patterns, rebuild new ones, and expand our observation, which will bring us to acceptance. Okay? This is a great podcast. I'm so glad I've sat down and recorded this. We're going to be going into part 2, the rebuild phase, next episode. And we're going to be going to leveraging that new experience to create a new you. I would love to hear what you have to say. And if you got all the way to the end of this episode, what I'd love you to do is comment a little love heart emoji if you're watching this on YouTube. If you would also love to rate, review this podcast, 5-star on Apple and Spotify. If anything come through that you'd like to share, any ahas, any nuggets, anything, message me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. Everything is linked in the description below. I cannot wait to see you in episode at part 2, the rebuild phase. I love you. You will get through this. I know it feels rough. Trust me. I know it feels rough. I did not think I was going to walk into 2025 and go through a breakup. Okay, I get it. It was a big slap from the universe being like, girl, get it out. Come on. It was a big expansion for me. So I get it. I freaking get it. Okay. And I know every breakup is different and all individually unique. So you might feel super isolated and alone. But at the end of the day, if we're logically looking at breakups, we all go through very similar things. Okay. So rather than isolating yourself, please talk to your friends and say, invite me out. And if I say no, please just invite me out anyways, because you will meet your best friends through this period of time. I promise you, guaranteed, hands down. And you'll also know whether people are for you through this time or aren't. But the best thing you can do is be the person that you need for yourself, for your younger self, and showing up for that version of you that you know that you can be and making yourself proud. So I'll see you next week for number 2, rebuild, and then we've got another one for re-experience. Okay, I'll see you I'll see you next week. Love you so much. Keep it enjoying and enjoy the release phase. Beautiful.